going to hit the button. Yeah. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, lovely people. I am so excited about this interview today because I've got the lovely Giovanna Silvestre next to me. Giovanna, you and I met on Podmatch. It's a platform I have mentioned so many times because it is a really beautiful way to meet people that are in the podcasting world and that have got a really, really beautiful story to share. So without further ado, would you do me the honor and introduce yourselves to our audience, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. My name is Giovanna Silvestre. I am from California, and I am the creator of the international yoga wear line called Confused Girl in the City. And I'm also a travel influencer, a travel wellness lifestyle influencer. And I wrote a book that's being published. It's called Confused Girl, Find Your Peace in the Chaos. So
Mm.
that is me in a nutshell.
I love it. I love it because the thing is, when you and I connected, obviously the topic we talk about was grief and not so much the brand behind you. So I always love when I get to know the actual person behind the brand, and I want to talk about all of that, the person behind it as well as your brand. Because when I then went on your social media, oh no, sorry, not even on your social media, you sent me the photo for our podcast interview, and I'm like, oh, that hat's really cute, and you're like, that's actually my brand, and I'm like, oh my God, so that's how I actually learn about the person behind that, because most people would know your public profile, but not a lot of people would know the background story to it. And this is what we're here to start off with. And I'd like to get all of you. So I'm going to ask you straightforward
Yeah.
about your story. What is your connection with grief? What made you connect with the podcast Unsilence Grief today, Joanna?
Well, it's really interesting because up until a couple years ago, I hadn't had somebody really close to me pass away.
Mm,
Like my grandparents on my mother's side, they passed away before I was born, and then my
mm,
grandparents on my father's side, they did pass away, but I was close to them, but not they weren't somebody that was in my everyday because they
yeah.
lived in Italy, so we would visit them, and I
Mm,
was sad when they passed away,
hmm.
but it I didn't really have to go through this crazy grieving
Mm,
process. Um, but my father passed away 2 years ago from
yeah.
esophageal cancer.
Hmm.
And it was just it was very crazy about the timing of life. There's so much that goes into this story.
Yeah.
It's a very bittersweet story. I actually think there's something kind of magical around death. It's
Mm,
like some things dying, but other things are being born or coming
yeah.
alive, happening. And
I
it's a
love how you say that. Mm,
yeah, I mean that's what happened for me. So it's really it's interesting. It's very interesting. So my journey with it was I'll take you back to when I actually left the country to write my
hmm.
books. So parents
Hmm.
are healthy, everything's good. And I just had this calling in my soul to leave the country. And it was like, you have to do it now. And I had been kind of putting it off, and I had to organize my business and everything because I wanted to
Mm,
write a book abroad.
mm.
So yeah, I
Do
was
you
like,
know
I can't.
why, or was it just the calling, or was there any particular reason why you wanted to do it abroad?
There was, I think I'm more alive when I'm abroad. I'm more
Mm.
creative. I'm more in the present moment. I also struggle with anxiety. And in the Western world, I just
Mm.
feel all this pressure on me,
Yeah,
well, especially in Los Angeles. And
yeah.
so, like, I just need to be somewhere where it's less expensive, where I can just
Mm.
fully 100% concentrate on this and let the
Yeah,
inspiration flow. And I didn't need a deadline because I didn't have a publisher, I didn't have an agent. This was just me wanting to do this
yeah.
for my soul and for all the confused girls out there. So
Mm.
I just wanted it to be a really flowy thing because in
Hmm.
my life before I didn't really flow. I
Yeah.
dead I had,
Hmm.
and I was like, I want to
Yeah.
do this differently than anything I've ever done. So organize myself, and my soul's like, go now.
Okay.
So yeah, time to go. So
Yeah.
I rented out my place in Los Angeles. I had one suitcase, a backpack, my laptop, and I took off to Indonesia. And I lived in Bali for a year.
I
And
love it.
oh, it was so amazing. And that's your
So many
neck of the woods.
creative people just land in Bali, and there's this whole hub, this community of creative people from all parts of the world. So I kind of saw it coming when you were like abroad. I'm like, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love it.
And
Love it.
it is just such a spiritual place, you know,
Mm,
it's such a great place just to do yoga, not feel anxious, not like I never had a bout of anxiety when I was there. I never
mm.
sometimes
That
like
says a
I'll get
lot.
this and have trouble breathing,
Mm,
and it never happened while I was there. It was incredible. It was a
yeah.
gift, really. And
Mm,
I would do like an hour and a half of yoga every day, and then I'd go sit at a cafe. And if I was inspired, I would write. If I wasn't inspired, I wouldn't write.
mm.
And then actually, because I was there a year, my parents came to visit me,
Wow.
which was such an amazing experience, especially
Hmm.
now that my dad wasn't going to be
Yeah.
with us, 7 years later. I'm so grateful that he got to experience that.
Yeah.
And so my dad, it was from the south of Italy. And so he
Hmm.
was an immigrant to the
Where
United.
from? Exactly. Do you know?
So it's called Avellino. It's near
Hmm.
Naples. It's
Yeah.
it's in the Campania region.
I'm an
And
Italy fan, as you can imagine. So yeah.
oh yes, yes, of course, of course. So your name, your last name, your husband,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. My husband's dad Italian, my husband's mom Mauritian. So yeah, the
Oh,
surname is
okay.
Italian. Yeah, but he's from north, from
Oh,
Treviso.
from
So yeah,
North.
complete opposite end.
Okay.
So can I just ask, at that stage when your parents came visiting, did you know that your dad was sick?
No, no.
No.
No,
Mm.
he was not sick at that point. He was
Hmm.
healthy. He did do something kind of crazy though on the beach.
Hmm.
He did pass out on the beach. And but my
Wow.
mom said that he does that when like I guess his stomach, when he has like a stomach issue, he would pass out again. But that
Hmm.
see the stomach, the esophagus, it's all connected.
Mm. Yeah.
Just didn't know at that time.
Hmm.
And my dad wasn't one to go, okay, every once in a while I pass out when I
Mm.
have like an upset stomach. I should really get this checked out and get to the bottom of this. He was
Yeah.
the kind of guy who was like working all the time, and he kind of drove his body into the ground, I think, with
Mm.
work. He worked all the time. And then even when he exercised, he would go 100% with exercise. Like he'd go play
Mm.
soccer, he'd go run, he'd go do a 30-mile bike ride. He was just a
Yeah.
very intense personality.
Wow.
Excuse me. So
That's okay.
anyway, they came to Bali. It was a fabulous, wonderful experience. And I think he was like, he asked me, he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm writing a book." And he's like, "Oh,
What are you doing here?
okay." He's like, "What are you doing here? Are you becoming
Mm.
like some kind of hippie? Should I be worried?" He's
It's
like,
such an
"What?
Italian dad question. What are you doing with your life?
What are you doing here? Like,
Giovanna, che cosa?
come back home,
Mm.
So, um, so I told him I was, I'm writing a book.
Mm.
But my parents are kind of the people that they don't fully believe it or get it until it's in front
Mm.
of their faces,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, after Bali, I went to Berlin. I was in Berlin for a year, and
Hmm.
then COVID hit.
Mm.
And so I went back home to California, and
Hmm.
my apartment in LA was still rented. So I was living with my parents.
Hmm.
And then about 3 months into COVID, I had gotten an agent for my
Hmm.
book. It was amazing.
Wow.
And then my father got diagnosed with cancer.
Hmm.
And we were like so freaked out. And
Yeah.
I thought, well, this is good that I'm home.
Hmm.
It's really great that, I'm home and I can help my parents. And
Mm.
it's so interesting when you flow in life, like the universe does set everything up kind of perfectly.
Yeah. I so
And
agree with that. And often, like in particular in hindsight, when you look back, you're like, oh my God, like everything's just been put into place. Mm.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, you don't want to say, "Oh, it set up perfectly" because my dad got sick. But
No, I get it.
if that was his destiny and that's what was going to happen, then me being home at that time was
Mm,
great. And so I feel like I brought like a lot of joy to the household and was able to help with everything. And
mm,
um, so for that year, because COVID was like a 2-year thing, especially in
yeah,
California.
yeah.
So for that year, he went through chemo, radiation, and then he had an intense surgery where they took out his like esophagus and pulled his stomach up. It was like
Mm,
a very intense surgery,
yeah.
and he survived that. And then, they did like they call it the mop up with the chemo, but he was so skinny, he had to stop doing that because
Mm,
he was cancer free at that point. But just if it
yeah,
had metastasized, they wanted to keep doing the chemo. But it's like, okay, well, if you keep doing this, that's gonna kill the chemo will kill him.
yeah.
And so he stopped doing that. And then it looked like, he was cancer free and he was
Mm,
okay, skinny, not
mm,
able to eat like he was able to, but he was still
yeah.
able to want to walk, not exercise like before. But
Mm,
he's also 70, so, but he was able to go around and do things. So
mm,
I was like, okay, I'm gonna, California's still shut down. Papa doesn't have cancer anymore. I'm gonna go to Texas
mm-hmm.
and just be an adult for a little bit because it was Texas. And I need to have some fun. This has been very
Yeah.
traumatic.
Mm,
So I went to Texas, and honestly, that was such a gift, my like 8 months in Texas, because
mm,
I was just having such a fun time. I was like, my dad is fine. He's gonna
mm,
survive. I'm gonna party and date cowboys, and my book with my agent. And even
yeah.
though my book at that time was getting rejected,
Hmm.
I wasn't fussing about it. I wasn't
Yeah.
concerned about it. I was very much like, I did all the things I can do with it at this point, and I'm just gonna surrender to it, let it go, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so I didn't let the rejections bother me, which shows that from what I write in my book, I don't just talk the talk, I walk the talk, because
Mm,
old me would have been very upset by the rejections. I
yeah.
would have I would have been like suffocating that project and
Mm, yeah.
squeezing the life out of it, my obsession and desperation. But I was just like, you know what? Whatever. Um, then when California started to open back up, I came back to California. And after I came back to California, I think it was 2 months in 2 months into me being back, my father got diagnosed again with cancer. It had
Mm,
metastasized. And it's so again, look at I came back. And then
mm,
it was like, so it's all getting set up.
yeah.
And so then the doctor pretty much was like, they never tell you they're not going to survive it. But, some friends of ours that were doctors and nurses, they said, yeah, he's probably not going to live longer than a year.
Yeah.
And then the doctor told my parents, they said, whatever you want to do, do it now. So we
Yeah.
sat my dad down and we said, okay, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And I know, and like, oh my gosh, I hope I don't cry because,
It's okay.
okay. So we,
Mm. I wish we were in the same room together. I would just hug you.
yeah.
Oh, thank you for your vulnerability. It means a lot.
Yeah, I don't cry a lot anymore because it's
Mm,
like you've cried so much, but
I
I
get
also
it.
talk about it this in depthly. I just kind of
Mm,
talk about how in the other podcast, like, because we're not talking about grief per se, we're just talking about how the whole thing was this beautiful timing,
yeah,
of how everything happened before he passed. But
I love that.
So we sat him down and we said, where do you want to go? And he had never been to the Grand Canyon.
Oh, me neither.
So so we did it. He loved Vegas, so we went to
Mm,
Vegas and we stayed at the Wynn. We did everything like we, 5-star for him.
hmm
We stayed at the Wynn, and I just happened to have these Italian American friends that have this amazing show called the Brian Newman Show. It's like a
hmm
night,
hmm
and found out I was in Vegas. I didn't even want to ask them for free tickets or to
Yeah,
hook
yeah, yeah.
anything. They found out I was with my dad, and they're
hmm
like hardcore about old school Italian stuff and
Mm,
people. And they're like, we gotta
awesome.
meet your dad and everything. So they like sent me free tickets and they brought
Mm.
us backstage and we got this is like Lady Gaga's band when she does
Yeah.
like a jazz stuff. So they put us right next to the stage where Lady
hmm
Gaga sits and the musicians sit.
Yeah.
They did a shout out to my dad. They had him
Oh,
backstage.
I love it.
Oh my God, they treated him like a little celebrity and it meant the world to me. And then
Yeah.
my my other friend was there doing their photography. It's just like this whole group. And he
hmm
took black and white pictures of my father
Oh,
during the show without us even knowing.
wow. Yeah.
It
They're the
was
best.
and
Yeah.
it was such a spontaneous thing that happened and out of even like after Grand Canyon and we took a helicopter the next day. Well, we stayed out
Awesome.
so late and that we almost missed the helicopter to Grand Canyon. I was like over, my mom's hungover,
Yeah.
and so we almost missed it, but we made it to Grand Canyon. But even after that trip, he didn't really talk about Grand Canyon. He talked about the night that we all went
Yeah.
out and we
Isn't that
went to the
amazing?
show and they treated him so well. He called them our friends in Vegas and
Oh.
it was so special. It was so
Mm.
special. And then I surprised my parents with like a trip to Cabo because they had never
hmm
been to Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. And
Yeah.
I got a 5-star hotel to host us for 4 nights because of my
hmm
influence stuff. And then that
Beautiful.
hotel, oh, that hotel treated my parents so well. Like, because the Mexican people are such family people,
Yeah.
you know, and they just treated them. I think they were a little shocked that an influencer brought her parents.
Yeah.
They probably usually
Beautiful.
do with friends or a
Yeah.
boyfriend.
Or that hot boyfriend or whatever. Yeah.
And there was another influencer there
Yeah.
that was like a bachelor, and
Yeah.
I was on the Bachelorette, and they
Yeah.
didn't really pay them any attention. They were like all they gave my parents and I a cabana every day and
Yeah.
were so wonderful to us. It was
Mm.
incredible. And then he had never been to Hawaii, so we took him to Hawaii.
I love this.
Yeah. So it was, yeah, it was so special. It was amazing. And
Mm.
you know what? A lot of people don't get that. Like,
Mm.
I think when death happens so quickly, you don't
Yeah.
get that. But then when the death happens slowly, you can maybe do these kind of
Mm.
things.
Yeah.
But it's also when it happens slowly, it's like this impending doom.
Yeah. Then knowing it's going to happen and not knowing when.
Yeah, it's like it's
Yeah.
really it's torturous. It's like a
Mm.
torture. It's
Yeah.
awful.
It's that bittersweet that accompanies you all through every single trip that you've done, but also having this opportunity is such, I always like to call them the hidden gifts in adversity. There are such gifts in adversity throughout, the lead up to what you know is coming, but then also thereafter. I always feel there are so many gifts throughout. Yeah, it is always a question like, are you open to seeing them? And without any judgment, some people are just not there yet and need healing or need the right space to actually allow themselves to see those gifts, to utilize those gifts, to accept them in. But then I look at you and I just really love what you've done with this. I love how you're like, okay, this is our time now. Let's do something about it. I love that you used your influencer status for something so beautiful and gifting to your dad. You know, as you said, you could have gone with some other people there, but you chose to take your parents, and I think that's probably exactly what touched them so deeply, what gave you that celebrity status over the other influencer there, which I absolutely love. So it's such a beautiful, heartwarming family story. um how much time did you have at that stage? Obviously, without knowing, but how long
Yeah,
before your dad passed away was that trip?
that was that was that summer. So it was like
Hmm.
it was like July and August, and
Hmm.
then for October, November, December, January, February, March. 7 months later, he passed away.
Yeah.
So,
So he
and,
he traveled
and
in a time where he could still really enjoy it, right?
yes, yes, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, there was a couple times where he was like in Cabo, we thought he started sweating a lot, and he's like, and he
Yeah.
felt, I don't know if I can go on the boat.
Mm.
And then we're like, that's okay. That's okay.
Hmm.
Because we had this boat thing planned. I said, we were like, you can go rest, like go, and he's
Yeah.
like, and then he went up to the room and then he came back down. He's like, no, 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 I'm ready. I want to go. And I was like, because he was just fight,
I
my
love it.
father, fighter, man. He was
Mm.
such.
Mm. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you. We often joked about Rob's dad because he was like this Italian, I can do everything, and fighter, and the Italian stallion came up as as a term quite often, because it is so beautiful to see because they are such family people. So they fight to be there for them, to be the protector, to stay around for them, but also for themselves, and I really love that I see that culture in your story as well because it has touched my heart so deeply. And
Thank
so
you.
I'm really, really grateful for your vulnerability here of sharing that. It's so beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, no,
Mm.
thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Um, so okay, where was I? So anyway,
You came on a
after
boat.
the trips, it
Mm.
was just kind of like a decline,
Mm.
and you kind of, and you're kind of hoping for a miracle, but you
Yeah.
don't know. And so I basically at that point kind of was just living with my parents. Because
Mm.
they're 3 hours, no, they were 3 hours north of Los Angeles. So I
Yeah.
was home pretty much all the time. And then I just come back to LA to take breaks because it's
Hmm.
so difficult, to be in it day in and
Yeah.
day out. So I
Yeah.
would come back and take breaks. And so one of the crazy blessings, right, was 2 months before my father passed away, two publishing companies had a bidding war on my book.
Of course.
And it's crazy. So for 2 years, my book was being rejected. And then two
Mm.
months before he passes, and because I was home, he was sitting on the couch while I was doing all of my Zoom calls with
Yeah. Yeah.
my agent and the publishing companies. And my dad, because he came to this country as an immigrant and he didn't have a
Mm.
formal education, he was all about accolades.
Hmm.
And he, like, just knowing that my book was going to be published.
Mm.
Actually, the nurse that was helping us, she told me she had taken him to the doctor, and she said, yeah, he was so happy. He said that, she's going to be okay. She's going to be okay.
Oh, I love it. I think that's what a dad really needs to know. I think, when you know your time comes, like it's the same for me. I'm a sole parent now since Rob passed away. And for me, the most important thing in my entire life is to know that when I go, that my boys are okay.
Yeah.
And for him to see that, I can so understand how important that was for him, and it's so beautiful. The timing again, the timing that he got to know that before he left.
I'm so grateful for the timing.
Mm, yeah,
I'm so grateful.
it's
I
such a gift. It's such a
I
blessing.
literally, I literally got down on my knees and just prayed and was like, thank you
Mm,
so much.
yeah.
Because I also wanted to give that as a gift to him, you
Mm,
know, and And I dedicated my book to him as well.
Yeah.
So, but he
Oh,
was,
that's
and
beautiful. I love it.
I also saw
Oh.
like his whole body, like
Hmm.
kind of, like he was on the couch, and when he's hearing the Zoom meetings and the negotiations, he kind
Hmm.
of stood up and was looking at me and was like,
Did you
and
actually write a little dedication in your book, or did you just, on a quotation mark, write dedicated to my dad?
oh no, yeah, I wrote a dedication to him. Like
Do you mind
it's,
reading it? I know
no,
I'm
yeah,
putting you on the spot here, but I would
it's
so love
okay.
to hear
Oh God. Okay.
it.
Whew.
Deep breath in,
This
everybody listening. Ready, Giovanna?
This book is lovingly dedicated to my late father, Giuseppe Silvestre, who passed away during its publication. His unwavering belief in me and his constant encouragement to follow my heart, even in the face of uncertainty, have been my guiding lights. His trust, even when I embarked on a 2-year solo journey around the world to write this book, a venture that filled him with apprehension, was a testament to his faith in my abilities. My father instilled in me the tenacity to never give up and to fearlessly chase my dreams. This invaluable lesson paved the way for the creation of the words you're about to read.
Goosebumps. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing this. Oh my God. Oh, Giovanna, are you okay to move into the story of the book? Do you want to share a little bit about the book? Or was there
Yeah.
anything that you feel we left out on the story that you would like to share? I'll let you choose where you want to take this.
Um, no, I just think that, about the book and the divine timing and how everything happened. I
Mm,
just think that what I've learned from all of this is that you really have to trust the timing of your life. And and once you do the work and you've done what you can, if you surrender to it, let it go, whatever you want to call it,
mm,
and just let it breathe, and
mm.
things will happen. Because I could have been anxious and I could have been
Yeah,
bothering my agent all the time and said, well, I'm
yeah,
going to take this from you and I'm going to
mm,
publish or whatever.
yeah,
But by just going, you know what? It's not the time.
mm,
It's COVID. It's being rejected, but that's okay. It has nothing
yeah,
to do with my self-worth. I do believe
mm,
in it. I do believe it'll happen when the timing's right. And then
yeah,
just concentrating on my dad, and then just the way it all happened, it's just a beautiful testament that the universe is always working for you, and it's working
mm,
even when you don't see it. Like you could feel that the world is against you because it's like it's
yeah,
COVID, being
mm,
rejected, my dad's dying.
yeah,
And I didn't ever look at it like that, actually. I didn't
mm,
look at it like the world is against me. I just thought this is a difficult time.
yeah,
It's a process of life, and I'm going to try to be joyful and get through this the best way I
yeah,
can. That's a
mm,
testament of my character.
yeah. So tell us a little bit about what is the book about? So the title obviously is Confused Girl. What is it
Yes.
about?
So it's about how confusion is a virtue.
Mm,
So I really look at like, and the thing is it's confused girl, but it's confused woman too. It's
mm,
it's we all are going to be confused at some point in our lives, whether it's, when we're deciding what college we want to go to, what job we
mm,
want, if we want a family,
mhm.
if we want to get married, if we want to get a
Yeah.
divorce, we want to change careers, death, how to deal with death, how to
Mm,
get through that, what the best thing is to move to a different, town, city,
mm,
country. I mean, life's always going to bring you these confusing moments.
yeah.
And what I realized is that when I went through, like over a decade ago, I went through a depression and a very confusing time. And
Mm,
I was so ashamed for feeling
mm,
confused. and not having the answers and not being happy and not
Yeah.
um yeah, not being happy. Like there's something
Mm,
wrong with me. I'm confused, you know?
mm,
And I once I got out of that, I was like, you know what? There's nothing shameful about
exactly.
confused and
Yeah.
not having answers. There's absolutely nothing shameful about it.
Mm,
Actually, it's an inevitable part of life
yeah.
because nobody comes into this world with a manual on how
Here's
to
your
do.
master plan. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm so
avoid
grateful
this
that you say
guy.
that. Yeah. I'm so grateful that you say that there is no shame, because there is throughout society, I feel there is often so much expectation and pressure, and this is how it's ought to be. And you do your HSC, and then you go to college, and then you study, you do this, you do that, you become blah blah blah. I think we are way past the you choose one career path and then you'll do that for the rest of your life. And I believe because in previous generations it used to be like that. In my parents' generation, it was still like that. You choose one career path and that's it, basically. There was no changing career path or let's see where that goes. It was okay, this is your path now. And I believe that this has put so much pressure on the actual decision. Who am I supposed to be in this world? What am I going to do with my life? Is it going to be meaningful enough, etc., etc.? And weirdly enough, although these days I feel it's so normal to have different careers, like I changed my career, like major career changes at least 3, 4, 5 times in my life already. And I'm looking back now, loving that conversation that we had previously about this whole hindsight and then okay, that took me to that and to that and to that, and now I was actually really really prepared for what life had actually in store for me. Yet even though that changed and there's so much more openness to various directions and changing your directions in life, the pressure and the expectation hasn't changed. That's what I feel anyway. I feel there's still that pressure. What are you going to do with your life? Have you made a decision yet? Are you going to? I can see that now because my son's in year 12, my older one, my younger one in year 10. So that's basically the last year of school for both of them. Probably. We don't know yet with my younger one, but I think you might want to stop here. And there is this question, what am I doing next? And I can feel the pressure and the expectation. And I as a mom, try my utmost best not to add to the pressure, but to help them finding opportunities, finding ways. And it's not easy in a society where it's all about, so what are you going to do? Oh, do you already know what you're going to do? What are you going to do after? There's that constant, what's next, what's next, what's next. And
Wow.
so I love that your whole story is about confused girl, the message as in, confusion is so normal. We all go through it. And quick question. Did you add to the ending of it after your dad passed away, or did you leave it as a package and add to the dedication?
Well, I always knew I was gonna dedicate. I always knew. Well, because I knew that my father was dying, so
Yeah.
I was always gonna dedicate it to him.
Hmm. But did you write about him in the book as well?
I did,
Yeah.
yeah, but I didn't write about the because I'm gonna do a second book.
Sneak
Um,
preview live on Unsilence Grief.
I'm gonna do a second book and I'm gonna talk
Hmm.
about the death and then after the death and then because after his
Yeah.
death I went to Italy and I had this whole solo journey
Mm.
and you know went a little crazy and did what I had to do for myself
Yeah.
you know but as far as yeah no I look at confusion as the fuel for your self-discovery journey and I
Mm. Pure
yeah
gold.
and I know. And I want I'm like, I know. And I want to take the shame out of being confused. So I was like, I'm confused, girl. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
I don't care, you know?
I own it.
And yeah, own it. And I'll always be a confused girl because I'm a curious person and I'm always going to be
Mm.
curious about things. And so instead
Yeah.
of looking at it like a pressure, what do I got to do
Yeah.
next? What it's
Mm.
like I look at it now like, oh, what an adventure.
Yeah.
What are we on to? What are we
I
about to
love it because it's like confused is has got such a negative touch in our day-to-day language, but it's not, it's just that I love that you actually neutralize that state. It's confused. I don't know what I'm doing next, and it's absolutely okay. I love that you take that negativity out of it with what you
Yes.
say.
And even when you said
Mm.
it, I'm confused. It kind of like got me like excited for you. Like, ooh, what she's
Love it.
gonna do now? Like,
Love it. Love it.
mean, it's also when you watch a movie, you don't
Yeah.
watch it
Yeah.
about people that are confused. Even if they
Mm.
don't know they're
Yeah.
confused, it's only interesting to watch people who are going through something and then they're
Yeah.
gonna evolve in some way.
Mm.
So it's like, let's just take the shame out of this right now,
Yeah.
people. This is ridiculous. Like, let's just look at it like you're about to go on
Yeah.
this adventure and discover something.
Love it. Giovanna, time
Yes.
always slips away way too fast when you're having fun. So before we go, I know we are a little bit over time, so thanks for your patience, everyone listening. But I do want to have a little bit of a glimpse of, can you tell us a bit more about Giovanna the influencer? When did that start? What you do with your influencer status? And of course, we'll be sharing all the links in the show notes after the interview. So don't worry, you can find a way to follow Giovanna and connect with her. Tell us a bit about, yeah,
Um,
the
I
public
was-
figure, Giovanna Silvestre.
yeah, I wasn't trying to become an influencer. When I started this, the term influencer wasn't really even used. Like I didn't hear it. It was
Yeah,
blog. We were all blogging. So I did
yeah.
start a blog on YouTube,
Hmm.
Confused Girl in the City. And then
Yeah.
every week do one new thing I had never done before to try to
Hmm.
figure out who
Yeah.
I was and, unconfuse myself.
Yeah.
So I was doing that. And then I got inspired through a chain of cosmic events to
Hmm.
start a yoga wear line inspired by healing crystals.
Hmm.
So I went on that journey and I created these gorgeous leggings, which you can see on my website and these
Hmm.
designs. It's actually one of my streetwear, my crop
I
hoodie, choose.
saw that straight away. I love it.
And so I didn't have any marketing dollars and
Hmm.
I felt like I need a free form of advertising to
Hmm.
sell my products. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, Instagram. And 12 years ago, Instagram was really open. So I could chat with a
Mm.
lot of people on there and
Yeah.
contact people that were in the yoga community. So what I did was though, is I had models in my yoga wear and I would put that on
Hmm.
Instagram.
Hmm.
And I went to lunch with this businessman and he said, why do you have all of these other girls and not you?
Mm.
He goes, you are
Mm. Good
brand.
point.
And I just thought, because back in the day, if you weren't a size zero and like 6 feet
Or two,
tall,
max. Mm.
yeah, like you thought, oh, I shouldn't model things.
Mm.
And he's like, you got a great little hourglass figure. He goes, I want to see you in your leggings at the
Mm.
Grove, Santa Monica Pier, and all. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I took that
Hmm.
advice. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do it. So then I started photographing myself in my leggings everywhere, and this is
Hmm.
me. And then that just took off. And then the
I love
influencer,
it.
and then I was like, well, I'll go all around the world
Yeah.
in my yoga clothes. And
I love it.
why not?
Yeah.
So, and that's exactly what I did. And then I remember the first time somebody introduced me as an influencer, I was in Berlin and
Hmm.
my friend there, she's Italian from Argentina. She came a really
Hmm.
close friend of mine. And she goes, this is my influencer friend. And I was like,
What? Me?
yeah, like, oh, okay. And
Yeah.
then I was like, well, I guess I'm an influencer now. And
Mm.
so that's how
Yeah.
that happened. But it wasn't like really intentional, but I love it. It's
Mm.
so great.
Yeah.
I've gotten so many amazing collaborations with it and
Mm.
amazing, like I told you, I took my parents to
That's amazing. That's just
um,
beautiful in itself.
brand new
Joanna,
hotel.
we
Yes.
are
Okay.
so over time, but I want to have one last question for you. If there is, like, really coming back to your book, to your beautiful message, the confused girl, the reason behind it, your wonderful, wonderful, heartwarming dedication to your dad. If there is one thing that you can leave our audience with here today, what would that be?
I mean, I hope this doesn't sound cliche, but life is
Bring it.
really short. Life is really short. And that's
Mm,
also what my father's passing showed me. He was
yeah.
70 when he passed. And he was even talking about how like he's too young and life was too short.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so figure out like go inside yourself, connect with your true nature and then grab life by the balls and go after what you want. Don't compare yourself with other people. Don't look at other things. You live with it,
Mm,
you live this life to the fullest. And that's what I really got from this whole journey and with my dad. And
mm.
I have done that. And my dad was really proud of me for doing that. He said I was very courageous. So
I love that. I love this so much. I do need this at the end of all our interviews so I can actually find the buttons. But before I do, I just really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming here and in particular for your vulnerability. It is so beautiful when somebody shares so openly and raw straight from your heart. So I want to thank you for your laughter, your confusion, your tears, for everything that you do to give people the message to take life at the balls and live it. So thank you so much for being here, Giovanna. And everybody listening here, I will be sharing in the show notes where you can connect with Giovanna, where you can look at her beautiful yoga pants, and also, of course, where you can buy Confused Girl, because I think that we will all love this story. So thank you so much for being here. Have a beautiful day. If you love what you hear here, subscribe to our weekly sessions of Unsilence Grief. This is Giovanna and Marie signing off. Ciao for now.